Rubble, crumble, toil and trouble. Times have changed, and so has our mother. While we used to be raised by trees and rivers and oceans and mountains and nature's caregivers, living in harmony like birds of a feather, not once bothered by the state of the weather, we were more focused on being together, not realizing this would not be forever and would soon become something we could only remember. We have never had to weather this. Mother Nature's reign is coming to an end. She's tired and bruised and aching to death, while Mother Market waits with a glint in her eye, rumbling and hissing as she bides her time until she knows we've got other things on our mind. Sufficiently distracted by her cunning minions, Rupert Murdoch and think tanks and capitalism, she watches as we bite the bait about freedom and the sponsored clothes on the Kardashians' Instagram, gearing her bolts and screws and metal limbs to a crouch, thus economically poised, she's ready to pounce. And pounce she does, high over our heads, leaving a trail of CO2 in her midst. She lands on the workers, crushing half to death, but leaving just enough to clean up her mess. Today, our values are dictated by Twitter, Facebook, and PlayStation gamers, but we don't realize that the choices we make discriminate and cause others that don't even participate to suffer the consequences of the horrific fate of upper-class white man-made climate change. We have been told again and again, we know this is happening, we know we're to blame, but we're too afraid of admitting to the shame that places the burden on the gains that our companies claim are freedom. Since when has convenience been more important than pain? Since when do we think that scientists are insane? Since when has politics been relevant to climate change? Our children won't be raised by Mother Nature like us. They will be oppressed, manipulated, and corrupt by Mother Market, whose goods and services will be the only form of affection she yields. And don't be fooled, she will pick her favourites and make consumerism, materialism, and neoliberalism contagious. Her sun will shine for those with capital power and flood, storm, burn, and thunder on all whose bank accounts don't profit her blunders. In her free market, we will have to put all our trust, and in her corporations that pulverize our forests to dust, her companies will sow the seeds of doubt and make us believe the denialism they spout. Blame it on China, they'll cause us to shout, as China makes us all too rich to pout. Don't you realize? It's not freedom for us, it's freedom for her. Hers is the only liberty this spurs. Meanwhile, we are controlled by our own system, a man-made creation that advertises mind games in whispers. We are told what fridges to buy, what newspapers to read, and to download apps that spy. We think we've rejected an oppressive system in which the government controls what we think, read, see, and listen. We think we still have the freedom to say that we refuse to subscribe to this manipulating charade. But we actually do need all these things to survive. Well, haven't you noticed how now everything's online? It's easy for you to say, you have your Apple Mac, you have your Samsung or iPhone with Wi-Fi Connect, but what about those that live paycheck to paycheck? They don't have healthcare or education access. These things all cost money and power and time and feed into and fatten the poverty line. It's much harder to lead a dignified life without Daddy's investment portfolio on your side. Mother Nature is bleeding, coughing, violently vomiting. Her nausea is so palpable from it, even we are suffering. We can't control nature, it's out of our hands. But we will destroy it for oil, coal, and gas. We have agency, more than we think, but we're using it to pollute the air that we breathe. Let's take charge. We have to save our mother and dismantle systematic patriarchal power structures. We are the cause, we are to blame, and admitting this is the first step to take, to use our influence to reverse global climate change. Let's live in a world that we can sustain.